I'm here to review Tonic Trouble for the Nintendo 64, a console that was popular back in the 90s, and now is vastly outdated, and frankly a waste of my time. The last games I played on the Nintendo 64 were Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, and I reviewed them for this channel. The controller gave me trouble back then, because, well, look at this thing, look at it. It's disgrace. It's a disgrace in gaming history. What the hell is this? You got 3 handles, why are there 3 prongs? It's like the devil's fork. I swear the Sardonic Pickle is making me review Nintendo 64 game after Nintendo 64 game because he's a bored peasant with nothing better to do. I suppose I must get this over with. Tonic Trouble was developed and released by Ubisoft back when they had this logo. It originally appeared on the greatest platform possible, the PC, in 1999, and was copied onto the Nintendo 64 later that year. I guess they wanted some of the PC's immense glory. Honestly, it should have stayed on the PC. Everything should be on the PC. The PC is everything. PC is good. The game is a 3D platformer, which the 90s were obsessed with. Here's the ridiculous story. You play as an alien named Ed, who is cleaning up on his spaceship and finds a bug. He runs around chasing it and comes across a can of strange liquid. He then drinks the liquid and pukes it into a set of screws which open up a trapdoor and sends the can hurtling towards Earth. It drops in a river near a man named Grug. I don't even know how to say his name. Grug uses the tonic to turn all the vegetables and animals crazy. Ed must go down to Earth and stop Grug by teaming up with Susie, a secret agent named XYZ, and Susie's father, Doc. I came to this channel, I agreed to this contract because I thought I'd be introduced to some fine gaming. But what do I get? 2 games where I have to fight vegetables. The premise of the gameplay, in typical 3D platformer fashion, has you going from world to world via portals and collecting 6 different items in each of the worlds for Doc's machine. He's developing this machine to send Egg to Grug's lair. As well as these 6 mandatory items, there are thermometers to collect which increase Ed's health bar, which is the thermometer for some reason. Health is recovered by finding mercury drops bouncing up and down. In order to reach the final battle, one must also find 160 antidotes to protect Ed from the effects of the tonic, which is probably the only collectible that makes sense to the story. Besides vegetables, you face off against floating balloon sheep, ducks with bear trap mouths, robot suitcases, killer toasters, and many, many more, which just emphasizes the amount of imagination or substances that went into the game. It's kind of hard to believe that Ubisoft did this. And then went on to do this.
Last night, I decided I don't owe you.
I think it's a mark of a good developer, like a good actor, when you forget the game was made by the said developer. Just like when you forget a certain character is being played by an actor. The game's originality is one of the best things it has going for it. Ed might look familiar, that's because he was a prototype for Rayman, a character well known for being limbless and very animated. I wish Ed got another game though. He became kind of likable at the end.
Wow! Ho-ho! Yeah!
The graphics for the feeble power of the Nintendo 64 were good enough. Nothing overly amazing. Though very simple, they were bright and interesting. I also enjoyed the animations, though the blur effect would put me off sometimes. All the characters and enemies were distinctly designed and very cartoon-like. The water in the hub world had a lot of colors in it, because it was polluted by the tonic. It made the game even more unique and original. I'm sure it looked better on the PC though. Everything looks better on the PC. As far as the audio department goes, the sound effects were nicely done. Some levels had some very catchy music, though the final battle with Grug was pretty underwhelming in terms of the music. And now, for the final battle! I enjoyed Ed's noises and catchphrases. They added to the whole zaniness of the style.
Super Ed!
mellow, he's chill. A bit like me. Ed's main weapon is a stick, which you obviously can hit enemies with it, though it also plays a role in some of the puzzle solving, as you can use it as a lever to open doors and such. It can eventually be used as a pogo stick as well to get over lava. As you progress through the game, the dock gives Ed new abilities, not only for his stick, but also for him in general. He can fly using his bow tie, and swim using a special pressurized goldfish bowl. They're fun moves, although I found the flying controls frustratingly sensitive. Once you find these abilities, they allow you to go back to previous areas and find things you couldn't get before.
Can anybody say Metroid?
This game came out on the Nintendo 64. What are you complaining about?
But it was originally on the PC. Even back then, people were copying Nintendo.
Silence, peasant! The only problems I had with the gameplay in this platformer was actually the platforming. For the most part, it works. It's a good platformer. It's just Ed would jump further than expected sometimes. Actually, most of the time, the camera would throw itself unexpectedly and cause me to fall. It became frustrating pretty quick, but the overall game is pretty easy. I beat it in about 8 or 9 hours. The game's visuals are interesting, the story is original, the gameplay is fun enough to last you through this short adventure. I would have liked a sequel, if only to check up on Ed. I felt like we had a connection, and it's not often I feel that. Overall, it was a fun little game you can play on the Nintendo 64, or you can play it on the PC like it was meant to be played. It gets a 7 out of 10. Why? Because I'm the PC elitist, and I know games.
Or you can play it on the Game Boy Color. Now that'd be a platformer on a platform I can get behind.
No one cares about handheld consoles, or any consoles for that matter.
Shut up! I have contacts who would love to reacquaint themselves with you.
What do you do, peasant? Let me guess, Snorlax? Pikachu?
Look behind you!
All that running has made me hungry. What's in the fridge?
Hey, man.
What are you doing here?
The front door was locked, so I came in the back.
More meta. What are you doing here?
Sardonic Pickle review. Came to be in it.
We've already done it. We got Dave's friend Justin to do it.
The last game I reviewed was Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie for the Nintendo 64. And the control was a pain in the ass back then.
Alright.